I'm continuing my deep dive into the Spectral editor in Adobe Audition. And since my last two videos, I think I've made another discovery that's going to help me refine the process of editing. In the last couple of videos, I've concentrated on some of the noises that I've been able to lock down and actually take out. After being successful taking out some of the noises, like the sinus noise, a couple of days later, when I went back in to do it, I had problems recognizing exactly what it looked like. One of the things that I've been wondering about for quite a while is what I'm actually seeing on screen. I learned how to change from the logarithmic view to a linear view, and I've learned how to change the resolution with the keyboard shortcuts and things, but I still had a lot of problems actually identifying the noises that I was trying to take out. So I think I've made a discovery. This is a capture from one of the videos from Alex DeWeese's Tech Tuesday talks, and I think I did this about a week ago. And one of the things that I've always noticed about his screen is how well-defined and delineated the frequencies were. And I'd asked some questions about that in the past, and I'm still struggling to get my voice back. It's been 3.5 weeks and it's still gone. What I really noticed about his display was the fact that the forms, the frequency ranges and things are very well defined, and there's not a lot of clutter around here. About a week ago, I asked Alex about his processing prior to going into the Spectral editor, and he indicated that he processes his audio and I believe even normalizes that to -3 dB before going into the Spectral editor and identifying noises. Now, one of the things that I've noticed is that he's got some very well-defined forms. The colors are very distinct. There's very clear patterning here. This is his screen from April 5th, and it's pretty much how it looks all the time. And I've watched him as he's actually in there editing. He'll demonstrate how he takes out noises, and he can move right in, and he can actually pinpoint where the noise is. He recognizes its form, and he's able to take it out. Clicks are an easy thing. Clicks are very sharp. They don't extend very far in time, and so they form a vertical line that's very distinctive, so he can move right in on those. So I was asking him about his settings for his view, and he indicated that he was just leaving it at the default. And for him, I think it was 32 for the resolution, and I believe he said around 130 or so, whatever the default value was for his particular setup. So for me, one of the things that was creating problems was the fact that it didn't really matter how I set the display, whether it was all logarithmic or all linear. I had a lot of problems with this purple frequency scatter here. I call it frequency fog. And so what happens is whenever I go in to find something, whether it's a click or another noise, I can find it, but it's difficult because I have all this interference or fog to kind of go through. So I got to thinking about that and putting everything together that he was doing, and he does an amazing job, by the way. Putting everything together, I took a deeper look at my settings, and I discovered something. This is the default setting. So it was set at a resolution of 32, and the decibel range was 140. And that was what I was working with for the longest time. The problem is that every time I tried to go in to identify a click or anything else, it was really hard to separate that from everything else. So I was really struggling to figure out how to identify certain sounds and everything, but I really wasn't doing anything except for changing the resolution and changing the ratio between the logarithmic versus the linear view. And then I thought of something. So in my recording studio, I have a noise floor of -64, -63, up to about -60. And that's an acceptable value for recording. So I know when I go into the Spectral editor and see the frequency fog, I know I'm not picking up a lot of extraneous noise and things like that. in my particular setup, I started thinking about the default values. So the 32 here, as far as the spectral view goes, is going to change depending on how close I want to zoom in to actually find a form in the spectral editor, whether it's a click or some other noise that I want to take out. But my question started focusing on the decibel range. Now, when I go into the spectral editor and I want to manipulate the display, I can change between logarithmic and linear values so I can make it look however I need it to look. And in the very beginning, I think I referred to the blob view, which was the logarithmic view. And if I focus in on this, this is what I was seeing for the longest time. And there was no way that I could actually identify anything in there. So over time, I figured out how to move back and forth between a linear view and the logarithmic view. And that didn't change the settings and the preferences as far as the decibel range. The other thing that I could change was the resolution. So I could go high or low, and I can do that from the keyboard. With all of those manipulations in the preferences, that didn't change the decibel range. So I got to thinking. I've noticed that Alex has that clear view like this, where he doesn't have all this frequency fog. He's got very well-defined forms. He's got the black space. And I thought that this black space here was where he had actually taken out all the breaths and everything. But then over time, I've watched him, and that doesn't mean that there aren't any breaths there, because when he zooms in on them, you can see that they're there and he can take them out. But with a 140 decibel range, I got to thinking that I'm actually seeing too many frequencies. And the problem with that, I thought, was that I'm seeing frequencies that may not really be audible, but as far as a visual display, they're actually showing up. And I remember that when I was able to find the noises, the sinus noises and things like that, I had actually changed my display for the frequency or the decibel range to about 116. That's 117 right now. But you can see that that purple scatter, that frequency fog back there, has been greatly reduced. So that got me thinking. And the thought that I had was very simple. Now, I know in Adobe Audition, you can do music and things like that. I'm not doing music. I'm doing voice. And I know the voice might get to a pretty loud range, but I'm not going up to 120, 130 decibels. I'm not screaming. So I got to thinking, my noise floor starts at about minus 64, minus 60. I'm going to be normalizing to minus 3 dB. So that's a range of around 66 to 67 decibels. And that might not be an accurate way of thinking about it, but it was helping me visualize things. So I got to thinking, I don't want to exclude sounds that might be really low or might be a little higher than other things. And if I can't hear them, I couldn't see them in the spectral view. So I started changing the decibel range, and I got down to a value of 90 decibels. So now I had a lot of the purple frequency fog that was gone. It's not totally gone, but a lot of it is. And not only that, when I change from a logarithmic to a linear value and then zoom in, I'm not creating additional interference. Now, what this has done for me in the past couple of days is it's removed a lot of clutter that I would normally see that would obscure things like clicks and things like that. I wasn't seeing the clicks. I had to really dive in and sometimes guess at where they were. And a lot of times I would have to go up into the waveform and find them up here and then expand this and try to find them and take them out. And it was doable. I was able to do that. But by changing this decibel range, it has helped me to be able to actually see the noises more clearly. And now I can switch, and I do, some of the noises that I'm trying to find are better viewed in that logarithmic uh, aspect. Some of them, like the clicks, are better viewed for me with the more of a linear view. So I'm able to move back and forth between these two, and I'm able to see more of the noises. So that's really helped me. Now, when I went back and looked at the video that I'd done for the sinus noise, what I realized that I was kind of halfway between a linear and a logarithmic view, and I had it set to a fairly moderate resolution, somewhere around 256, something like that. And the decibel range was down at 116. Since I've dropped it to 90, I've been able to go through and actually recognize and take out more noises because I'm seeing them better. So right now I'm at 64 and 90, but I could change this. Yesterday I was editing, I was really doing well at 256 and 90. And then if I want to zoom in, I can, and I can see things. But like this right here, I can go in and that may not be a click. I'm just using this as an example, but things were starting to show up and they were clear, and I didn't have that fog surrounding them. So for me, for right now, this is working better. So this modified decibel range has done a lot to help clarify this. So now I know what certain sounds are looking like. I know what they're going to manifest as here. And now, without all the background interference, I can spot them a lot easier. So now I can go back and actually locate those shapes and things a whole lot better. So I hope this might be of some use.